Board President Gonzalez, we are streaming.
Welcome to the Board of Education meeting. I call this meeting to order. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Janelle Astorga.
Here.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Here.
Heather Benavides.
Here.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Here.
Josefina Dominguez.
Here.
Courtney Jackson.
Here.
Daniel Gonzalez.
Here. Our first item is to consider adoption of the January 8th, 2025 Special Board of Education meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt the January 8th, 2025 Special Board of Education meeting agenda. This is Member Jackson.
I'll second. This is Board Member Dominguez.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Janelle Astorga.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Daniel Gonzalez.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is item 3.1, discuss interest in serving as officers. I'd like to acknowledge that we had a slightly different process this year responding to feedback from board members. And so we asked for statements of interest to be submitted in advance. And so we do have those. We also acknowledge the opportunity for members of the board to share their interest up here as once we get to the point of a call for nominations as well. So we will go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 3.2, elect 2025 Board of Education officers. And nominations are now in order for the office of president. I'll acknowledge that no seconds are needed for these nominations. And I will nominate myself for the office of president. I submitted my statement in advance by the deadline, and both the public and members of the board have had a chance to review that. Are there any other further nominations for the office of president? If not, nominations are accepted and closed. Nominations for president are as follows: Danielle Gonzalez, and the board will now vote for Danielle Gonzalez. Dr. Albright, might have a roll call.
Janelle Astorga.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
No.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
No.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Daniel Gonzalez.
Yes. So the motion carries. Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education has elected Danielle Gonzalez as president, and I will keep the gavel. Thank you. And I will continue to lead the rest of the meeting. The next officer position to be filled this evening is vice president. The vice president will also serve as the audit committee chair. We did have a statement of interest from member Jackson, so we will nominate member Jackson for the role of vice president. Are there any other nominations for the role of vice president?
Yes, Ronaldo Tomorito.
Thank you. Are there any additional nominations? So if not, nominations are accepted and closed. Nominations for vice president are as follows: member Jackson and member Tome Warito. We do not need a second, and so we will open up the floor for discussion. We received member Jackson's statement in advance, so I'll turn it over to you, member Tome Warito, to provide your statement.
I have a statement. I would allow Courtney to go first. Thank you. She can read her statement first, and then I'll read mine.
We have her statement.
Yeah.
So we're not reading what was submitted in advance.
Well, I have my statement here.
Yeah. So can you read it?
Yeah.
Thank you. You have the floor.
All right. Serving as the vice president of our school board has been an honor and a profound learning experience. It has given me the opportunity to advocate for students, staff, and community while working toward meaningful progress in our schools. Last night, as I reflected on my decision to run for vice president of our school board, I was confronted with a sobering reality. After a full day dedicated to training and board responsibilities, I returned home feeling the weight of the day, exhausted. I sat down and turned on the television. What stopped me in my tracks were images of burning houses and urging reports urging evacuation. It was the Pacific Palisades fire. At that moment, a thought struck me with a full voice. My daughter has been living through this all day. I hadn't called her to check in if she was safe, if she needed my support, or even simply to say, I'm here for you. It was a life or death situation, yet I allowed the demands of the board work to distract me from what truly matters, the well-being of my family, and by extension, the students and families we serve in this district. This realization was a turning point for me. It reminded me of the importance of balance, perspective, and prioritizing what truly makes a difference in our lives and the lives of those we serve. It is this clarity that fuels my decision to step into leadership, not for the sake of busy work, but to ensure that our board remains focused on what matters most, the success and well-being of students, families, and the community. However, this journey has not been with its challenges. One of the most difficult obstacles I face is the presence of lateral violence, disrespectful and undermining behaviors from fellow board members, the threats to derail the collaborative spirit necessary for effective governance. Lateral violence, whether through bullying, unconstructive criticism, exclusion, blaming, shaming, gossiping, social isolation, or other harmful actions, is an unfortunate reality in many professional settings, including public service. Facing it has tested my resolve, but it also strengthened my commitment to fostering an environment of respect, transparency, and mutual understanding. I've come to realize that lateral violence not only affects individuals, but also hinders our collective ability to serve students and families dependent on us. Through this experience, I have learned the importance of standing firm in my values and practicing empathy and focusing on a bigger picture. Rather than allowing negative behaviors to dictate our actions, I have chosen to respond with professionalism, persistence, and a focus on building bridges whenever possible. This journey has brought attention to the mean girl syndrome. Mean girl behavior is often a rational aggression or alternative aggression, an indirect but harmful form of social bullying. Those who engage in this relationship aggression want to make a person look bad to others, bring them down, or take away what the other person has. Most people don't realize they're being mean, even though they are. I invite you to watch recorded meetings from March, May, or even September's policy meeting. This journey has also reinforced my belief that open communication, accountability, and a shared sense of purpose are critical to overcoming challenges like these. But this is not a focus of this leadership. Being the first Native American on this board was a great triumph, but it has also filled with negativity. I have deep concerns. Our behaviors on this board directly affect our superintendent, board staff, cabinet, administrators, teachers, and students. I observe a harsh patriarchal mentality in the leadership style. To hide it, not address it, paint the perfect picture is not okay. The treatment of myself has its repercussions to also affect other Native American staff, students, and community. To my fellow board members, I extend an invitation to engage in dialogue that fosters understanding and unity. Our roles are not about personal agendas or individual victories, but about working together for the greater good of our schools and community. To our students, staff, and families, I remain steadfast in my commitment to serving with integrity, resilience, and a focus on the future. This experience has strengthened my resolve to continue advocating for a school board culture that values respect, collaboration, and the well-being of everyone involved. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve as vice president and to have learned the lessons I did along the way. I will continue to approach my board responsibilities with the dignity and determination that our students deserve. Will the day come where people of color will no longer have to endure the oppression of their oppressors? I don't know, but I do know I don't have to endure the meanness because of my mental health, physical health, and spiritual health that matter to me. It is time we take a strong look at ourselves because the children and teachers of this district are going through the same treatment. I withdraw my submission for vice president, and I will stand an example of someone who refuses to accept and to conform to the punitive treatment. Thank you, Ronaldo Telmarito. That's it.
So you've withdrawn your nomination?
Yes, I withdraw.
Thank you. Are there any for further nominations for the office of vice president? All right, so the nominations that we have for the office of vice president are as follows. Member Courtney Jackson. The board will now vote for member Courtney Jackson. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
No.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
No.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez.
Yes. We will now move on to the office of secretary. Nominations are now in order, acknowledging again that member Astorga submitted a statement in advance. I will nominate member Astorga to serve as secretary. Are there any other further nominations for the office of secretary? If not, nominations are accepted and closed. Nominations for secretary are as follows. Janelle Astorga, and the board will now vote for Janelle Astorga. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call, please?
Janelle Astorga,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez.
Yes. The Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education has elected Janelle Astorga as secretary, and I will acknowledge that I completely skipped over a part of the script, the bottom of the last page. So I'm going to go back there. After having elected the Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education, Courtney Jackson as vice president, do you have a specific day of the month and a time of day that you would like the audit committee to meet? And it's important to have a date and time settled tonight so that board services can prepare the Open Meetings Act documents for posting on Friday. Audit currently meets the fourth Tuesday of the month at 5.
That time works for me with the caveat that other audit committee members are we going to set the other audit committee members tonight?
Yes.
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 Is it online? It's virtual.
It is
It is
virtual. Yeah.
virtual. So you can make it, you can keep it virtual.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can make it any time, and we'll also take other members of the committees when we get to agenda 3.3.
I think that the fourth Tuesday at 5 p.m. seems to work, especially because it's virtual. And then by that time, hopefully anybody who is working is also off of work.
Okay, so we will stick with the virtually on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. All right, did I miss anything else? Okay. So we will move on now to 3.3, discuss board committees, chairs, and meeting schedule. New Mexico statute requires that boards of education have a finance and audit committee. In addition, the APS Board of Education Governance Manual allows for a standing policy committee. Board members are invited to use this time to talk about the committee structure, membership, and meeting dates. Board members interested in serving as finance and policy committee chairs can share their reasons for wanting the position. So we'll have this conversation, oops, wrong page. We'll have this conversation about the structure and who wants to serve on each committee. And then we will move on to election of finance committee chairs, 3.4, and election policy committee chair after that. So staying on agenda item 3.1, and I guess starting with finance committee, is there anyone who is interested in serving as the chair of finance committee?
Well, I will put myself to continue to serve if no one else is interested.
Thank you. We have a nomination of Crystal Tapia Romero. Are there any other nominations for finance chair?
No, and we thank you.
All right, and then expressions of interest in serving on the finance committee. We have member Benavides,
Will, Ronaldo.
member Tomorito,
And I'm interested as well.
member Dominguez. And this, of course, is not closed tonight. You can think about it more and we can add before or after the committee meetings. But for right now, as members, we have Tapia Romero, Benavides, Tomorito, and Dominguez. All right. And then for policy chair, is there anyone interested in serving as that role?
I'm interested.
We have member Dominguez. A nomination for member Dominguez. Are there any other nominations? All right. And are there members interested in serving on the policy committee?
I do.
I didn't hear that. I do.
I'm Ronaldo.
Tom Morito, Benavides, Sorga, and Jackson. Okay, anyone else for policy committee? All right, so for the purpose of the minutes, the members expressing interest in policy committee are Dominguez, Tom Morito, Benavides, Astorga, and Jackson. So we will move on to agenda item 3.4, which is to elect 2025 Board of Education Committee chairs. Standing board committees include audit, finance, and policy. The board vice president serves as audit committee chair. Nominations are in order for finance committee chair. We have the nomination of member Tapia Romero, and we will now vote for member Tapia Romero to serve as finance committee chair. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call, please?
Pinelda Astorga,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Daniel Gonzalez.
Yes. So that motion carries. Congratulations, member Tapia Romero, you're the finance committee chair. Do you have a specific day of the month and time that you would like the finance committee to meet?
I would like to propose us going back to the 8 a.m. virtual. What does that work? I think we were doing, remind me?
Wednesday of the month of April.
Yes. Does that work for everyone?
Virtually on the fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so the committee, which will be chaired by member Tapia Romero and will include members Benavides, Tomorito, and Dominguez, will meet virtually on Wednesday, fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. The next position to be filled this evening is policy committee chair. We have a nomination of member Dominguez, and we've closed the nominations. Is that correct? Any other nominations? So we will go ahead and vote for member Josefina Dominguez. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call?
Pinelda Astorga,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson,
Yes.
Daniel Gonzalez.
Yes. Congratulations, member Dominguez. The Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education has elected member Dominguez as policy committee chair. Do you have a specific day of the month and time of day you'd like the policy committee to meet?
Well, I'm gonna, I'd like to accommodate people who work. And so, is it, you inform me, please. I mean, currently we meet at 5 virtually. We'll maintain that.
The current is virtually on the first Monday of every other month at 5.
If we can do a 5:15, that would work better for me.
Does that work?
Maybe that-
If it's virtual, it's always easier to meet at any time. So that's not speaking for all working folks, but you know.
And board member,
I'm fine, whatever time.
okay, so 5:15.
And continue every other month on Monday, on the first Monday,
I prefer every month, on Monday.
on the first Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we are set with member Dominguez as the policy committee chair. The members as of now, Tomorito, Benavides, Astorga, and Jackson. Anyone else interested in serving can express interest later, and they will meet virtually on the first Monday of every month at 5 p.m. 5:15 p.m. Thank you. 5:15. 15. All right, our next item is to discuss board time use evaluation, and our presenter for this one is member Tapia Romero.
Here we go, guys.
You have the floor.
Okay, so first I want to start off just by thanking Secretary Astorga for helping me navigate through all of this and categorize everything properly. So I just want to publicly acknowledge your time and support in making sure this was allocated, you know, the best that it could be. So looking through it, to give a quick summary, especially if we go through like a year in all of 2024 for each quarter, I want to just do a quick recap. So for the first quarter of 2024, we had a percentage of 31% that we allocated with our time focused on SOFG. If we continue to quarter 2, we improved going from 31% to 39%. Quarter 3, we had a significant challenge and dropped all the way down to 11%. finally wrapping up Q4, the challenges continue to embrace all of us, and we ended with a percentage of only 7%. Looking at these, October was the only month where we actually received some time associated that could count towards SOFG. We had other things that we committed time to where we had like the NMASA report that we actually had to discuss, but knowing that it wasn't actually specific time that we were able to count towards our minute usage, we weren't able to use the time associated with that. There was a lot of time that we dedicated in our month of meeting, with December being the highest of 757 minutes due to having a board retreat, but none of it was able to be counted. When we look at our overall, I guess, challenges that we've had, keep in mind that, you know, we've asked going forward to be able to say that the ad hoc meetings, to be able to use those in the future. However, remembering that we can't use our community engagement time that we have there. And I think it's important too, like when, and this is just a side note as I was really diving into this today, because we've adapted this tool to really help us stay accountable to each other and making sure that we are following SOFG guidelines. But it's concerning to see that we've actually had a decrease, that instead of actually us seeing improve and make significant improvements of, you know, our time use being used appropriately, we've gone the opposite direction. And I'm going to throw it out there too. And President Gonzalez, if this isn't, if I shouldn't say this, you could just tell me, Crystal, don't say that and I'll respect you. But I would propose like a rhetorical question to everyone, because what would be the best way for us to hold each other accountable? Nothing we have to answer now, but as we look forward to really use the tools that were given us and for us to be able to practice best use of our time, because I don't want to feel coming here knowing that we've spent, goodness, for this last quarter, it's 17 over close to 1,800 minutes. And only 120 of those minutes counted. Again, there was other minutes that, of course, this is work that needs to be done and we have to have these discussions, but how can we hold each other accountable better? Because all of us have different styles. We have different ways that we like to be approached. We have different ways that we want to be held to a standard. But personally, I am someone who does look at the figures. And when I see that we're actually going the opposite direction, I want us to be very intentional on what actions we could all hold ourselves to, or holding what actions we could hold ourselves accountable to seeing significant improvement. Personally, 2025 can only get better. I don't see how we can go lower than 7%. But I do feel like it's important that all 7 of us keep each other accountable and in line, you know, so again, I throw that question out to everybody because I think it's important that we all respect each other in terms of how we are held accountable, but it's something that isn't forgotten about. And I don't want us just to get lost in the work, but without showing what we're committed to. One thing I'll make note of is I feel like even now during public comment, they've started to hold us accountable to what the goals and guardrails are saying. And seeing our constituents come back at us, we in turn have to do the same with each other. So I'm just putting that out there for all of us. I think it's important that we do improve on our numbers going forward. Aside from that, I do want to ask, and I don't know if this falls on Dr. Albright or if it's with Cell. When we're looking on the YouTube videos, we don't see the timestamps there for each section, so it makes it challenging to be able to know how much time we spent on certain topics. I know we had them at one point, like the different chapters, but it wasn't.
We can look into that.
Okay, that would be fantastic, because this is a job in itself. And then,
and I think at a minimum, if not timestamping the YouTube, we can note it in the minutes.
awesome. And then keep in mind too, obviously, we know that the guardrails don't count for, we don't get credit for those minutes, so that's why we moved that to consent agenda. But personally, I feel like we have a lot of improvements to make, but we could only go up from here. So having said that, I will open it up for any questions, and then I'll turn it over to Secretary Astorga for some additional input that she has related to our instrument here. So.
Thank you, Member Tapia Romero. And to your question around accountability, I think for the purpose of the agenda, what is posted, we need to discuss only time use evaluation. If we want to talk about our behavior, managing our behaviors, holding each other accountable, governing ourselves, we can hold that to January 15th when we do the self-evaluation, and also when we update the governance manual, just for the purpose of what was posted. With that, are there questions around the time use evaluation? All right, we will turn to Secretary Astorga, who has comments.
Thank you, Board Member Tapia Romero, for that presentation. And I will make sure that everybody gets this document as well, so you can see what that looks like. I did just want to know, if we look at our monitoring calendar, there are months where we do not do any goal monitoring, so we will see a decline in those months or those quarters. So that's just what happened with November and December. We had no scheduled goal monitoring. So even though it feels really heavy, we kind of anticipated that this might happen because we didn't have that schedule. So like Member Tapia Romero has said, in 2025, we have a great start to the year. So we'll be monitoring goal 4 in January, goal 1 and 2 in February, and goal 3 in March. We will see another decline in April because we don't have a goal monitoring session that month. So just a reminder to look at the monitoring calendar so we can kind of see where we should continue to monitor goals so we can get those points, or if there's something important that we should do. Another suggestion that I do have for June, because we don't have goal monitoring for June or July, is that we do end of year results. And I know that superintendent has already started talking about that, but we can talk about those end of year results because it is student outcomes focused for our results that students will have in the fall. So that can potentially add some points in the summer when it comes to SOFG discussions. So just a suggestion there, but also to just end on a light note, we anticipated this because there was no goal monitoring. So it does look scary, but we'll pick it up in the next few months.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I have one.
Member Tomorito.
Whatever happened to our outreach to 1,000 students that we stated last year? That was a goal. We made it a goal, but I don't know what happened with it.
Yeah, so that's not related to time use.
Okay, but I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, so we can ask the chair of our ad hoc committee on community engagement if you can include an update on where we stand with our goals. So if you can email that to, Dr. Albright by noon tomorrow, she can get it into the at a glance.
We have a spreadsheet.
Okay, fantastic.
So I have a question as well.
Yeah.
If you're done. When is the appropriate time to raise a question about how we or what we consider as or how we reconsider what we count as student outcomes focused governance topics? Where does that conversation happen?
You want to respond to that?
I don't have a full response, but I do know that we are having a training on community engagement that Ashley will come in and do that can help sway us into the right direction to adding those into time that counts for SOFG. So that's something that's coming up that we'll have a training on. I'm not sure about the other rest of the question.
Is there a month, a time that you set aside, a date
For that training? I know Ashley is watching, so maybe she'll text us if she has that answer.
I don't believe a time has set. It's in the calendar for SOFG implementation, which only goes through the end of February. So it would have to be between now and the end of February. But I'm not aware of a date being set. And I think the question around what does and does not get counted for SOFG purposes is a question for SOFG. So that would probably be something that you can send directly to Ashley and AJ.
But okay, and I'm just going to note that she did during the December 20th, 2024 workshop, acknowledge that SOFG is a framework that we, the APS board, must implement on our terms, right? To reflect our values, what we find important. So I'm just reiterating that sentiment as a possibility for rethinking this.
And for what it's worth, were you gonna get in? I'm realizing since we're going in order on the time use that Member Dominguez will be the next person to be trained. So that would be a good opportunity for the three of you to connect on that, and then maybe you could report back anything. Does that work?
Yeah.
And so since Member Tapia Romero just presented for this quarter, Member Dominguez will present for the next quarter, the time use.
President Gonzalez may add. I think what's helpful too, Member Dominguez, when you look at the worksheet and it'll explain things at a greater understanding once you dive into, because the framework really goes into great detail that discuss the visions, goals, values, guardrails, monitoring, accountability, communication and collaboration, continuous improvement. So there is a tool and a scale that we are following based on something we agree. I believe we voted on this, golly, a year ago, it might have been. But I could be wrong. I don't want to speak out of line, but I think once you dive into it personally, because that's what helped me, it'll actually become a lot more understandable, you know, on how we're scoring it and what we're giving credit to and what we're not. Because it's hard. It's hard to see so many 0% when we feel like we are doing the work and we're not getting the credit. But I'll just leave it at that. Anyways.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Any other comments on time use? All right, so keep in mind, we again decoupled the time use from the self-evaluation so that you have this information when you do your self-evaluation. So we will be considering the self-evaluation with the January 15th meeting agenda. So in the at-a-glance report will also be your deadline. So we do that a little bit separately than the meeting deadline, since you send just directly to me and I review it. It doesn't have to go through the whole staff process. So you will submit your own self-evaluation. That'll be consolidated and then presented back out. But now you have the data on how much time we used in the last quarter. All right, so we will then move on to agenda item 5. And to kick off the new year, we thought it would be a good idea to give board members a chance to share their thoughts about the new year, about open communication, reflection, and staying focused on our commitment to student outcomes and keeping our discussions aligned with our goals. So we will, board members start at either end. Board Member Tomorito, would you like to begin?
Give me a little more time. I'll pass it on for now.
Okay, Member Benavides.
Sorry, I didn't have a speech prepared. I'm excited to start this new year. I'm excited we have our officers and everybody in place, and I feel like we're in a good place. I'm ready to move forward and stick to our mission, which is student outcomes, focusing on the students. That is why I'm here, and it's very clear to me, and it's easy to do the work because of that. And I'm just really grateful to work alongside each of you. And I hope it's a good, healthy year for everyone. And let's hit it and let's be positive. Please. That's my hope. Thanks.
Thank you. Member Tapia Romero.
Thank you. I guess first, congratulations to our new cabinet and the people who are going to be joining, you know, and setting the tone for the new year. I look forward to seeing what you all are going to work with the superintendent. I'm going to point more of my comments towards our superintendent because I'm truly excited, this being a whole brand new year for you and what you're going to do with the district. makes me extremely hopeful, like probably the most I've ever felt in sitting on the board now. And I want to remind all of us, and I think I've said it before, it's okay for us to disagree. Like that's the reason there are 7 of us, because we have different insights and opinions, backgrounds, we represent different people. And I don't see it as a bad thing when we don't always see eye to eye. You know, the goal is always to be respectful with one another, but I want everyone to feel like they can still say what they need to say and speak their mind. But this year is going to be an exciting year for all of us. You know, it's going to be very telling because we've done the work, all the prep work for SOFG, and to see what's going to continue after February and really put our actions to what we said we were going to do. And I would just challenge us to hold each other to a high standard, hold us all accountable. And I look forward to it. I'm what a member Benavita said, like I'm hoping we all stay positive because it can be hard. No one talks about the dark side of serving on a school board, but there is one. And overall, you know, it still makes me excited to show up to our meetings that we have. And I always say we should sell tickets, but here we go.
Thank you. I don't know if I should go. I'll go to Member Astorga.
Yeah, I would just echo what has already been said. Like it's gonna be an exciting year, an upbeat couple of first months with our time use for sure. But I am just ready for us to show all the work that we put in to SOFG and what we're doing. And I think the new executive committee is really going to be able to do that. So that's exciting, and put that to work. So I'm very hopeful, and yeah, I see a lot of good things happening, but yeah, I feel like they both said it beautifully. So nothing else.
Thank you. Member Jackson.
Thank you. So I usually every year I post on my Facebook page just kind of a review of what we've done. And so I just thought that I would maybe read that because I think it's always good to see, like, to look back on how hard we've actually worked and what we've accomplished. So if you'll allow me, I'll just read this. 3 years ago today, I was sworn in to serve on the APS Board of Education. Below is my reflection on a year of growth and gratitude. It's an honor and a privilege to continue to serve for our students. We welcomed new leadership. We welcomed a new superintendent who wholeheartedly embraces APS goals and guardrails. Her persistence and determination are already driving us toward meaningful achievements. I had the honor of presenting at the Council of Great City Schools National Conference to showcase our successful strategies for superintendent hiring and community engagement. We partnered with New Mexico United to host the first annual community engagement event focused on goal number 1, literacy. We ensured that art and music programs are going to be available in every elementary school every year. We held the first ever, sorry, I just saw a picture of my husband, I'm sorry. We conducted an intensive superintendent search, incorporating input from students, staff, and families through multiple community engagement events. And we welcomed and began collaborating with 3 new board members, fostering teamwork and a shared vision. On a personal note, this year brought incredible loss and sorrow. But amidst the heartache, we were uplifted by the overwhelming love and compassion from family, friends, and the APS and Albuquerque communities. And I want to thank each and every one of you for showing my girls that even in the hardest times, kindness and compassion prevail. So looking forward, I just want to thank you for being part of this journey, and I really am excited. I really am. I'm excited to continue working together for our students, our schools, and our community in the year ahead.
Thank you, Member Jackson. Member Dominguez.
I think it's going to, I keep saying this, we're going to make it a great year. And I mean that. There have been challenges, and I'm not going to skirt the elephant in the room. Member Tom Barito. I want to recognize everything that you said. I don't want to sweep it under the rug. I know it's been hard. But you can bet on having a sanctuary on the policy committee. And so I'm looking forward to sharing my strengths as policy chair. And those strengths are based on my commitment to a collaborative, supportive, and culturally and psychologically safe implementation of student outcomes focused governance. I want to reiterate what our coach recently acknowledged, or the sentiments that she acknowledged at the December 2024 workshop, and that is that this is a framework and that we have an opportunity to do it our way, because we are known nationally as being at the fore of doing things differently. We are an Indian country, and that means something. That means a ton. It means adopting a philosophy. And my philosophy of leadership aligns with values such as transparency, inclusiveness over exclusivity, collaboration, and above all, supportive, and I'm going to stress supportive accountability, using Amy Edmondson's notion of fearless leadership. And for those of you who don't remember who Amy Edmondson is, she is the Novartis Professor of Leadership and Management at the Harvard Business School. She is an author of The Fearless Organization, Creating Psychological Safety in the Workplace for Learning, Innovation, and Growth. And I take to heart this woman's book and her concepts, because it's, you know, SOFG, I may take issue with the council on many things, but they do provide us with these outstanding resources. And so I'm eager to implement that, her notion of what she calls situational humility, which means that you can make mistakes on this dais, and we approach those mistakes not with punitive or disciplinary responses, but rather with curiosity. Like, why is this happening? Why are, what is leading to mistakes? And then having a conversation about it. So I would look forward to doing that through the policy committee. And we've done incredible work. The strengths of SOFG include the governance manual that clearly delineates in 4 sections the policies that we dedicate ourselves to, making, and this I find historic, making the targeted populations of the Martinez and Yazzie decision the focus of monthly progress monitoring of data, tracking their academic growth by way of our goals 1 and 2. But I love that our district, thank you to cabinet and to our superintendent, I love that our district doesn't have to be told to look at those targeted populations for goals 3 and 4. It just makes sense because the data tells us that it makes sense to focus on them. I look forward to strengthening community engagement and outreach to include topics such as, and again, this is said with love, the right sizing and repurposing, a policy on charter schools, that allows us to be better informed on both topics before they get to us for a vote. And yeah, I'm eager to implement some of the readings and podcasts that our coach suggested. Stephen Covey. I love that he says that punitive and harsh responses in organizations are old time thinking. That's great to hear from someone of his caliber. And given his link to his father, right? And I want to reiterate my commitment to SOFG guiding principle, the SOFG guiding principle that student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And so that means we must reflect what we want our children to experience in the classroom. And that begins with me, in collaboration with this board, with the superintendent and her cabinet, the administrative support staff, and it filters down to school site employees. How we treat each other matters. The kids are watching. And I'll end on this. It saddens me to hear that the lateral violence that I had to experience throughout the years spread to board member Tom Morito for speaking up against it. And as a result, we're going to lose her as vice president. Ironically, yesterday we had 2 incredible workshops put on by American Indians for Opportunity. Lori Harris presented a workshop on cultural sensitivity, as did Navajo Nation Superintendent Roy Tracy. And I would hope that their teachings, their gentle perspective, their fierce perspective, their resilience will be applied not only in the classroom, but also in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Dominguez. Member Tomorito.
I'm going to bring this out. It's my little penguin with the mama penguin, with the baby penguin. And before I made my decision to not resume my position, my go-to film in any time when I am going through a struggle or to figure out what brings me back to the reality and the realness of why I do what I do. And that's the movie March of the Penguins. And this documentary is about resilience, cooperation, and the determination of the emperor penguin to survive and thrive in harsh conditions. While the film centers on nature, its themes are often valuable insights into improving education. Here are a few areas that I just want to highlight in what this film showed me when it pertains to education. Number 1, community support is essential. Number 2, endurance and patience yield results. Number 3, protect and nurture the vulnerable. It's one reason why I love this picture, because I often feel that it's the adults that have to protect the children. And the endurance of the penguins to protect their little one, and the fathers who go without food for 4 to 5 months before the mother penguin gets there, and the longevity that it takes for them to walk just to protect this little offspring that they've brought into this world. So, and then number 4, adapting to changing conditions. Number 5, leadership and collective responsibility. Number 6, the importance of shared sacrifices. And number 7, to celebrate the milestones. We are going to have to endure this coming year. And my biggest piece in all of this And what's reflected is what's going on with the fires in Los Angeles. Those fires aren't over. And I don't know what we're going to do when we do face those issues, because the one thing I've realized in this district is, where's the hope? Where's the hope for our children? Where's the hope for our teachers? Where's the hope for our staff? Because the one thing that guides hope is love. This is an example of love. I'm not going away, because my subjects are still special education, still community involvement, charter schools, and what's really going on with our middle schools. That's my priorities this year. And I'm going to make sure that I do what I need to do to fulfill those needs. So I do thank you all for everything you're doing, but I also know that I have a responsibility, and I'm not done. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Tom Warito. And as I thought about tonight and about the year ahead, I thought it would be relevant to discuss the values of integrity and character in elected office, in part because I was reflecting on the legacy of Jimmy Carter, as tomorrow is a national day of mourning for the former president. And reflecting on his legacy, I found a quote that he said, "We must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles." And that felt very relevant for the work that we are doing. And I think in the way that our guardrails represent the values of our community and hold us to what we need to do, that's what's important and is unchanging. So that really resonated deeply as we think about navigating the complexity of board service, but also navigating our roles. I think we also learned from President Carter that integrity is a steadfast anchor, and that's what leads us with purpose and with authenticity. And I think just another quote from President Carter, he reminded us that a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. And that resonated for me also, and serves as a guiding principle, I think, in our commitment to this work as well, to no matter what, ensuring that our students not only thrive academically, but also grow into responsible, good, caring, loving, compassionate, and good people, good citizens. Thinking also about this time that we're in, not just what's happening tomorrow, but in the week ahead, we know that we live in a world filled with uncertainty, and in these times of uncertainty, hope becomes even more important. And of course, there's another Jimmy Carter quote about hope. So he says, "We can choose to alleviate the suffering of our people," and in times of challenge, emphasizing that the power of collective action. And thinking about collective action in the context of this school board and of our endeavors, knowing that we have the power to use our collective action to choose hope and to choose optimism and to choose collaboration, to choose integrity. And I hope that we can do that so we can work together to foster an environment where everyone in the school system feels valued. Tonight, I also just wanted to acknowledge that I think, that I'll acknowledge that I think our children are still not all right. We know we have a lot of work to do to improve academic outcomes. There's a lot we need to do as a school system, as in a community, to improve overall child well-being. Part of that is related to school climate and sense of belonging, but there's a lot more related to just mental health and social emotional learning and development. And so I hope that we can face that challenge as a school system as well. So moving forward, just hope that we keep our character and integrity at the forefront of all of our decisions, as President Carter did. And together, then we can inspire hope and optimism in our schools and communities. And I'll just close by saying it's an honor to serve with all of you. I'm looking forward to the year ahead, and I'm looking forward to all of our collective efforts to serve our community. Thank you all. We will move on to agenda item number 6, which is the President's report. In terms of upcoming meetings, we will host a policy committee meeting on Monday, January 13th, and that'll include the second read of the governance manual. On Wednesday, January 15th, we will have a regular board meeting, and that will include progress monitoring for Goal 4. That progress monitoring conversation will be facilitated by Board Member Jackson. And you have the facilitation guide to remind you of that process. And then also our Q4 board self-evaluation will be during that meeting. The administration will also present its recommendations on high school credits. And so if you've been reading the at a glance emails, which I know you have, there is an update in there from the superintendent on high school graduation requirements and credits. So we'll consider that as well. And then, as Member Astorga mentioned, we will progress monitor Goal 1 on February 5th and Goal 2 on February 19th. We'll also host an audit committee meeting chaired by Vice President Jackson on Tuesday, January 21st. And on that Wednesday, January 22nd, we'll have a finance committee meeting chaired by our finance committee chair. As a final reminder, if you have not already, please work with board services to secure a location for the board district level outreach sessions for January or February. And with that, the next item is Agenda 7, which is the next board meeting, which will be Wednesday, January 15th at 5 p.m. here at the Alice and Bruce King Educational Complex at 6400 Uptown Boulevard Northeast and live streamed at aps.edu. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Holy.